Hey, welcome back to the Trust Your Hustle podcast. I'm out here in beautiful Colorado Springs. It's not my home area, but this is where I'm at right now with the amazing Mr. Hagner. Hey, Larry, how you doing, man?
What's up, dude? Good to see you. And I'm from St. Louis. It's just like Colorado Springs, minus the mountains and the beauty and the sunshine.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't have the arch out here, so we're reverse this. I mean, I'm not really out here, but I'm here for this event, which is called, Advance Your Reach, how to be better at speaking, which is something that I think everybody needs to do. And I'm always trying to kind of sharpen the sword kind of thing. But for me, man, I'm excited about this one. We've worked together in the past. I love the work that you do in the world. I would love for you to share more of, like, in a sense of what you do, like what are the things that you're passionate about, what excites you in life right now?
Oh man, so I have so much to keep me busy. I mean, for those of you guys who don't follow the Good Dad Project or the Dad's Edge, those are my two brands. Podcast. I'm a father of four. Yes, four.
Hmm.
Four boys, and they're 11, 9, 3, and 1. And I know all you guys out there are saying, wow, like, because that's usually what I hear, like, wow, or like, why? Like, why would you do that to yourself? But hey, that's what I love to do. I've got a podcast that I really enjoy.
Hmm.
We've got a membership mastermind community that's just thriving. We're kicking ass. The guys in there are kicking ass and taking
Nice.
names. But that's what I'm excited about, man, and just trying to be the best father I can be, man.
I dig it, man. And I know that comes from, obviously, one is passion to do it. And then I'm sure things that are part of your personality we're going to find out here in a minute. Now, I always start with this question because I've realized that I learn from what people share in the answer to this. But what does trust your hustle mean to you?
Trust your hustle. What it means to me is I think you need to find something that you're excited about. I think so many people have this view of like, well, I have to sacrifice, I have to hate what I do in order to feed my family.
Hmm.
And I think trust your hustle means if you're passionate about something, if you really want to do something, whether that's build a brand, build a business, do whatever, first of all, ask yourself, would I do this for free?
Hmm.
Would I do this without getting paid? And then if the answer is yes, perhaps move forward. If the answer is no, maybe go find something else. But if you would do what you would do for a living for free, I think that's the first step in trust your hustle. The second thing is you have to have some sort of a plan. I think so many entrepreneurs and so many people, they're like, oh, my passion will get me through. And I think your passion is one of those things. It's like the driver, right? It's the wheels, but your plan is, or I'm sorry, it's the engine, but you need a plan. You need the wheels on the car. So if you
Yeah.
look at your passion like the engine, you look at a plan with your wheels or your steering wheel or whatever, you've got to build some strategic things in place if you're going to build that side hustle or that full-time hustle or whatever you're doing. You need systems, you need automation, you need structure, you need all those things. And
Yeah.
passion's what drives it, but it's not sustainable long term.
Hmm. I agree, man. That's kind of where, like, a lot of people, they sit back and hope the motivation to be the one thing that gets them there, and at some point that disappears.
It
Feelings become
does.
fleeting. When that happens, man, you fall into a wayside and you get more beat up, man. So I know that in your life, because we had conversations, there's been areas where you were kind of getting by, and I call it surviving. There's different levels, I think, to it. Outline for us, or share with us maybe an experience that can sum up what it was like in your life when you were in that surviving kind of mode.
I think that's really my childhood. And you and I are good friends. I would say I know your story, you know my story, and your story is one of those that I look at your story and I was like, man, that's just some of the things you went through are crazy. Some of the things I went through, I would say my childhood was I was surviving.
Hmm.
My mom was married to my biological father for 4 years. They had me. My dad headed out. For the next 20 years, my mom or she got married 3 times. She dated several men in between those marriages, and every guy was like just uh, you know alcoholic, or he was mentally abusive, he was physically abusive, both. It was my childhood was definitely, I was in survival mode because my house was always just usually mad chaos. There was always like people drunk,
Hmm.
people mad, there was yelling, there was all kinds of things that were happening. And guys were in and out, they were leaving, divorces. And I would definitely say my childhood, my first 18 years, was I was in survival mode because my home life, man, was just so unpredictable.
Hmm. Yeah, man, it's crazy. I didn't even know that about you. That's
Yeah.
nuts. I can only
Yeah.
imagine. I mean, it's always difficult when you have to go through those things because you have also no control over it. You can't leave. You just have to endure it, and that's not a fun place to be. And man, I know you've accomplished a lot. I'd love for you to share, like, in your life outside of the business stuff. What are the things that have happened in your life that are amazing? Like, I know you thrive in certain areas as a husband, as a father, even your other work. This isn't your only thing. You do some other cool stuff. What are the things you're doing now outside of the business stuff that are awesome?
Yeah, so in my life, I mean, I think where I really kicked into, I got to do something. I got to do something different. Is when I went away to college. You know, I put myself through school. I graduated with school with all these loans, and I was like, man, if I'm going to pay off, if I'm going to pay off these loans, man, I got to make some money.
Yeah.
So I became really motivated. I started my career in sales, medical sales, and did that for a while. I got married to the girl that I met in college.
Mhm.
I've known her for 21 years, and I would say thriving. I mean, I've always tried to put things in place, you know, to help us thrive. But at some points in our life, and at some points in my adult life, we've definitely just have been surviving.
Mhm.
But you know, with the whole thing of thriving, I think it's more of a mentality
Mm.
versus things that you're doing. You have to mentally thrive first
Mm.
before
I like that.
before the things around you can thrive.
Yeah.
Because if that's not working, you know, if your mind is in survival mode, then the things around you in your life are going to be survival. And if your mind is like thriving mode, if you've got that, you know, mentality of abundance, those are the things that you're going to put in place because you're going to think differently. You're going to
Yeah.
think more strategically. You're going to ask yourself better questions. You're not going to ask yourself the downward spiral horrible questions that we ask ourselves when we're in survival mode, like why me, why has
Yeah.
this got to happen to me? Because our brains, man, they're a fully functional computer. You ask anything you ask of ourselves, it'll come up with the answer. So you
Yeah.
got to be very, very careful about what questions you ask yourself.
Wow, man, I like that. I've never heard like that. If your mind's surviving, your life is surviving.
Yeah.
That's powerful, man. So obviously, this the whole concepts that I like to work through, and people work through in life is, you know, they have to see something, then sacrifice to get, you know, whatever they want, and then sustain over time. So obviously, it's three stages. You know, C has kind of a dual area. There's an area where you see what were your setbacks and like your problems you dealt with that kind of maybe hindered you, and then what did you see that allowed you to pursue like greater things in your life?
Yeah, the thing that was hindering me the most and still does to this day is me.
Mm,
Like the image that I see in the mirror every single morning, that can be my own worst enemy. And I think that for a lot of us, you know,
yeah.
the one person that sabotages us the most is the one that's literally staring us right in the face when we're brushing our teeth.
Mhm.
And so I think things change when we have a mental shift or a mental pivot. And what I mean by that is, for instance, I've been a father for 12 years, and to be honest with you, half the time I've been a father, I haven't been the best father. You know, it wasn't until 5 years ago, and that was the birth of the Good Dad Project. And don't get me wrong, I still have my days, I still have
Yeah,
my
we're human.
moments. You know what I mean? It's not an easy job, but uh, I think when you decide to forego the ego and realize I don't have all the answers. And it's okay for me to ask for help. And by the way, if I don't ask for help, I'm probably going to be in bigger trouble than if I don't. But
Mhm.
so many men, man, we're so proud. Or if you're a business owner, we're so proud. We got to do it all on our own. We got to figure it out on our own.
Mhm.
And there comes a time where you get really sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
And you have to just surrender that ego. And, you know, that really happened for me 12 years ago. I'm sorry, in 2012.
Mhm.
Um, 5 years ago, I just got so tired of being this man that I knew that I wasn't supposed to be. I was short on patience. I was irritable, all these things. And I always thought like, well, a father should come natural, like that. The fatherhood thing should be natural. It should be a no brainer. It should be easy. Nothing's further from the truth. It wasn't until I was like, you know what? I just need some help. I need to forego this attitude of like, I need to have all the answers and I should do this and I should do that. And I'm shitting all over myself, by the way.
Yeah.
And just ask for help, you know, and not just, I'm not talking about necessarily going to see a counselor or anything like that, but like plug into masterminds, plug into books, plug into conferences, plug into a tribe of like-minded people who are going to help raise you up, level you up versus, you know, staying the same.
Nice. So then in that aspect, I mean, we obviously see those things. What did I mean? You're obviously doing something different. You created this podcast to help these guys. What did you see that, you know, prompted you to create this?
I saw the struggles in my own life. I mean, I always joke about it, but it's true. You know, I'm the president and the CEO of the Good Dad Project, but I'm also the first client in the line. You know,
Yeah.
because I
Like
mean,
the Air Club.
yeah, exactly. But I think you know, I get to every week on the podcast, I get to talk to people who are way smarter than me. You know, you being one of them. You've been on the podcast and
Mhm.
hearing your story and hearing the perspective. Not every man gets to have those conversations every single week. Most men, they live every day like they did the day before,
Mhm.
and every day is the same, and it's the same frustrations, it's the same battle, and it just wears us down. It's not until we're exposed to a new perspective or a new way of doing things or someone else's story that like, wow, I'm going to take this certain, like for instance, your story of adversity and everything that you grew up and everything that you've been through, and yet you are by far one of the most positive people I know. Like when I think of Anthony Trucks, or when I see you, I mean, dude, I lighten up. I was like, man, that guy's so great. But somebody like you have every excuse in the world to not take action because of maybe perhaps the things you went through as a kid. So you can lean on that story of that victim mentality. But there comes a time where you just need to shift that,
Mhm.
and you've got to get out of that. And again, you got to get out of the way of the person that stares you in the mirror every single morning.
I like it, man. It's crazy. I mean, along this whole journey, there's a realization of these things. You've seen these things, and you've made massive shifts. You've actually created this whole movement. I love what it is. I'm actually still part of the group, so I get to peek in every once in a while when you're going live and listen. You are an amazing leader, and also there's things you might have sacrificed along that way that maybe you shouldn't have. So, what are things that you saw on two sides? What are things you sacrificed that possibly shouldn't have been sacrificed, and then what have you sacrificed to be in the place you're at now?
It's a good question. So the reason I laugh is because there are times. So when I host the show, the Good Dad Project, or the Dad Edge Alliance, which is our mastermind community,
Yeah,
which we have over 150 guys who are part of that, and I
that's awesome.
lead that. And I joke with it too, because I'm like, man, sometimes I lead it and sometimes I'm the worst client here. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, all right, guys, like I'll give you a perfect example. Like, okay,
Mhm.
for the month of October, let's challenge each other to go no social media, no devices, no nothing, between the hours of 5 p.m. and 9 p.m.
Mhm.
And who is the first one to get called out for breaking that rule? It was me. And so like the things that I sacrifice that I shouldn't
Yeah.
is I always talk about work-life balance.
Mhm.
I think the reason I always talk about it is because I want to be better at it
Yeah.
myself, because I work relentlessly. And sometimes like it even takes my 12-year-old to be like, you sure you're supposed to be on that phone? And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I
Wow.
was like, you're right. And so those are the things, like I sometimes I love having the work ethic that I do, because I'm relentless.
Mhm.
I am freaking relentless, and
Yeah.
I'll execute. But at the same time, that's my Achilles heel. So like I'll sometimes work too much, too
Mhm.
hard. I'll sacrifice that time that I shouldn't, with my kids. And
Yeah.
sometimes I just gotta draw a line in the sand and be like, look, I'm not answering any more emails today. I'm not
Yeah.
going on social media anymore today. I need to be here. That right here, right now, that's my job, not this
Yeah.
other thing. My
I
job.
like it, man. I think a lot of people are there. I've been in the same exact place. I mean, you get going and it's like you have this attachment, this pull to like get this done. But then
Yeah.
it's like I tell myself I'm doing this so that I can, be around my kids. But then when my kids are around, I was working and I wasn't with my kids. So it's kind of a weird
Yeah.
catch-22. And it's tough. And I like what you said. I think the first thing that people have to do is one, be aware of it, and then two, like own it. You have to first own it and say, I'm not the best at this, to then fix it. Gives yourself permission. So now you've built this cool thing up. I mean, you work with 150 plus men and growing. What have you had to sacrifice that are the good things that other people typically don't to get to this level of success you have?
The things that I've had, it's been a ton of work up front. It's been a ton of learning. I think when you build a membership community, people think it's easy.
Mhm.
uh, you know, for those of you guys who don't know, Anthony was actually the one that coached me through how to build this. So like how to build the platform, the automation, and all those things. And that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And the other thing that's a lot of work too is every single month I create all the live content
Yeah.
for the community, all the weekly calls that we have, and
Mhm.
all the speakers, and plus the podcast agenda and all that. So it is a lot of work, but it's things that you can do on the front end that will reap benefits and free you up for time later on.
Yeah. I agree, man. I like it. And a lot of people aren't really keen on that. They just start moving and they don't have a plan in place or kind of execution system, and they're just always spinning to keep it spinning. The idea is to create and then have a system where it can almost kind of get some legs. I'm sure at times when you get to that big level, which you will get there, you're going to have to be able to delegate this stuff off so you can continue to keep doing things you're passionate about.
I've actually recently got to that level, and I got
Mhm.
to tell you, handing things off, it's the hardest, but it's like the best thing to do when
Yeah.
you're an entrepreneur. And if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably an entrepreneur. And one of the hardest things to do is we are the CEO, we're the CFO, we're the COO, we're the marketing team, we're the training team, and we're also the janitor. You
Yeah.
know, so
Yeah.
we got to clean everything up too. What I've done here recently is I went through an exercise, went to a workshop where it's like, okay, make a list of everything that you love to do, that
Mhm.
you just love about your business. Now make a list of all the things that you hate to do. Like I hate doing my financial books. Like I hate
Oh, same.
numbers. Yeah. And I hate numbers. and I hate how busy social media can be. And then like I sell merchandise, like my hats and stuff like that. Like
Hmm.
a lot of that stuff, like I don't like necessarily putting stuff in boxes and shipping it out and that kind of thing. So I make deals with people. Like we've got a really large, thriving group on Facebook that has almost 10,000 people in it on the Dad's Edge. I got a guy who helps me administer that.
Hmm.
Who I give him a free membership. He watches that group. He allows people in. He approves everybody. I
Yeah.
got another guy who will ship out everything for me, and I hired a CFO. It was
Hmm.
the best decision I ever made. She's awesome. She loves doing spreadsheets. I hate them.
Yeah.
So it allows you to free up and do the things you really enjoy, though.
I like it, man. It's awesome. And so obviously if you got this thing, it's just cool. It's not only at where the level it's at, because some people start something like you've started and they don't get to the level you're at. They don't grow, and you sustain growth to get to where you're at, and then you're going to sustain it over time. This is kind of like a more personal one. What are like the specific principles or actions or habits that you have that allow you to sustain not only the level you're at, but then sustain your consistent growth?
Yeah, so I think most importantly to sustain, if you have a business, you have to, if you have a garden, you've got to water it,
Hmm.
right? You have to be out there. You have to water what is currently planted, right?
Mm.
Whether that be like, so for instance, with our membership community, like I'm always doing things. I'm not going to divulge too much, but I always do things that so I pour back into the community, and I make sure that those members are well fed, that you're watering the garden that you have. Because if you don't pour into those people, or if you don't pour into the things that are feeding your business, it's going to dry up. And as quickly as you plant new seeds, that garden over there, if you're not watering it, it's gonna die.
Hmm.
Right. So the other thing too, and as far as growth goes, what I like to do, what I have to do is I have to put it in my mind like, okay, I'm at, 135 members this month. Um, I would like to be at 155 next month. So in
Hmm.
order to do that, I know I know what daily behaviors have to be in place.
Yeah.
So if I think a lot of people, what they do is they're like, well, I'd like to get to 150, or I'd like to grow by 20 more, or I'd like to do this, or I'd like to do that. But the real question is, are you doing the daily behaviors, the daily habits to get you to that goal? Because if
Mhm.
you're not, then it's just an idea, and
Yeah.
it's just a fluffy thought. So for instance, if I want to grow that business, if I want to grow by that many members, then I have to make sure that I'm talking to two new men per day,
Hmm.
like that we're scheduled for a call, and I will look at my calendar and I'll make sure that those behaviors are in place. And if they're
Yeah.
not, I know it's not going to be a productive week. You have to be very conscious about filling your pipeline with new customers.
Yeah.
If you're not doing that, and a lot of guys, a lot of entrepreneurs, they're afraid to do that. They're afraid to step into that sales role.
Yeah, I think it's what a lot of people. I mean, if you take it from the business aspect, is you've got to do those things, and I think sometimes people don't believe in something. They want to get something in and hopefully get a small win. Like I'm going to start free and then hope they get a win. They have the confidence that and really pitch it. But I think if you have something like you're proud of, it works, and yeah, like let's go get this thing done. And I like the aspect of the habits, right? Because there's so many people that listen to this right now that they're like, well, I don't own a business. How does it apply to me? And I think no matter what it is, like you have something you want to make better. That's it, right?
Right.
And if you don't instill specific habits that aren't based on how you feel, they're based on things that need to get done. That's how you get there. You can't have, like you said, the fluffy things take place and, oh, I wanted to win. Then you just don't because you don't put the work in. I don't think people realize nothing changes if nothing changes.
Right.
And you got to put some work in. So, man, I know you covered a lot, and I want to respect your time, but I think there's always like these moments of like reflection that we usually, I don't know where it happens. And in the end of this, because usually podcast interviews, I ask a basic questions like, out of everything you talked about, realizing people are going to grab a small amount, what is on your heart, or what's something that maybe you haven't talked about that you're like, hey, I know that this is on my heart. I want to share with the people listening. What's this thing?
One thing I've learned about busy fathers and men, entrepreneurs, and all that is that I think most of your listeners are probably parents, right?
In some way,
Um,
absolutely.
some way, shape, or form. They just play, look at the numbers, and they probably are. If you look at our business lives, we don't hesitate to hire somebody to help us with something.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I need help here. I'm not, I hired you to help me build my membership infrastructure.
Hmm.
To me, that was money and resources well spent, because it saved me so much time and frustration and banging my head up against the wall. Right.
Yeah.
Um, and I think we do that with mentors and masterminds and that kind of thing in our life. What I think most parents and most men is in particular miss out on. And you need resources, you need a mastermind, you need those people that are going to hold you accountable. You need something exactly like what you have, which is Trust Your Hustle, which helps people build businesses.
Mhm.
People also need that as far as their parenting lives go. The
Yeah.
problem is, the thing that's really been on my heart lately is, especially in particular to men, men have this tremendous guilt factor of spending money, time, and resources on anything that's going to improve that area of their life. So, for instance, men, if you look at most men, most of us unfortunately are walking around physically unhealthy.
Mhm.
And why do we do that? We don't want to pay the money for our gym membership, and we don't want to take time away from our businesses and away from our family because of guilt. Like, I can't
Yeah.
take care of me. That's selfish. The thing that people don't understand is taking care of you, and I'll just use your health as an example. Taking care of your physical health will also take care of your emotional health, which will also take care of your mental health, which will help you show up better for your family. It'll make you feel better. It'll make you execute better. It'll make you more productive. But so many people be like, well, I can't do that. I feel guilty spending time doing that. I feel guilty spending resources doing that. I shouldn't do that. And we end up again shitting all over ourselves.
Mhm.
So we don't want to do that. So I would say that's something definitely on my heart. If you want to improve any area of your life, give yourself permission to spend the money that you need to spend the time that you need to spend, to take those resources, because it's going to pay dividends in your life if you do it. Just let go of the guilt.
I like it, man. And I agree. I mean, I wholeheartedly agree. I think you kind of get to the point where you have to realize you can't pour from an empty cup. Like if you are trying
No, you
to
can't.
fill the rest of your life up and then you're like, you're always tired or you're just out of shape and have no energy, like it's not the best thing. You're basically limiting your ability to be great for the people that need you to be great.
Exactly.
So I wholeheartedly agree. All right, man. So you do some amazing things. If you guys are listening right now, you're like, man, I need help with this. Maybe you are a man who's like, yeah, this is actually good information. You want to maybe look into this, or maybe you're a woman and you're like, hey, you know what? I have a brother or a cousin or a sister or a friend, something that would benefit this. Where can they reach you, and how can they kind of learn more about the programs you offer?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the gooddadproject.com is the easiest spot to see everything I'm doing. I mean, that's where all of our podcasts are and everything.
Hmm.
And as far as, we've got a thriving Facebook community called the Dad's Edge,
Yep.
and then we have our mastermind community, which is the Dad Edge Alliance, which we're always growing in there, and that's our live platform. That's our live community. I've got a couple books too on Amazon. I've got a book called The Dad's Edge,
Hmm.
and I also have a book called Daddy Will Always Love You and Protect You.
I have that.
um yeah, you do, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just a children's book that my 9-year-old challenged me to write, so I did. I
Nice.
couldn't say no to him. But those are the easiest places to find me.
Cool, man. And if you guys are listening, definitely reach out and tune in. I mean, if you have this inkling of like maybe it could help, obviously you're probably listening for a reason. It probably can. And it's a bunch of cool guys. It's not like I mean, I don't know how I would frame it, but when I go in there, it's like real men talking about real problems. It's not all touchy feely. There are feelings involved, but you can easily go in there and be around guys just like you. And that's honestly the best thing, because we have, in our society, the male suicide rates like 1 to 6. It's like some crazy amount in terms of men and women. It's because I think men have these areas where they don't feel like they can express and talk, and that's what you've created, which is needed and incredible. So guys, go there. I'm going to sign off, man. Thank you so very much for your time. Like seriously, genuinely appreciate it, because I know you have a busy schedule. I have a busy schedule, but we're able to get this down. And I know we serve somebody. I don't know who, but right now there's someone like, I got to get more information. If you're listening to this for the first time, you have no idea who I am at all. My name is Anthony Trucks. If you want more information or to take the Thrive assessment to see what your Thrive type is, to see how you can go from surviving to thriving, just go to trustyourhustle.com. That is it. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Thank you again for coming on. I hope you have an amazing day, man.